Good evening, good afternoon, or good morning, depending on where you are in the world. We'd like to introduce to you a news story from ABC News. This is for review, informational and educational purposes. This is not to take the credit for the intellectual property of this particular review of this video that belongs to ABC News. I'm just reporting on what's happening, and it is in the public domain. So this was live streamed actually 2 hours ago, but of course I'm not always available for that. So I'd like to just report on what happened and give some commentary as necessary, any opinions or any facts in addition to whatever is being said. And with that said, I would like to thank all the people watching on Facebook Live for this. Also, I'd like to thank all the people watching the recorded version on Facebook and the recorded version on YouTube, Rumble, Dailymotion, and on occasion when I do upload things to Vimeo, also on Vimeo as well. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to play the video, alright? Now what I'm going to have you do is I'm going to have you listen carefully to what they're saying. So I saw some of the video in the beginning. It's like excuse me. Japanese Prime Minister speaks, there's a translation in English. And I think also when Trump was speaking there was a translation in Japanese, I'm not exactly sure. Just pay attention to what the translation is and what Trump says. Also, of course, what the other guy says. But when Japanese Prime Minister speaks and there's a translation, just listen carefully to what's being said. And you can come to your own conclusion what you think about it, if you believe what they're saying, what's the implications. And then I'll actually just give you my take on it. So let me start.
Japan.
You see Trump coming out. He'll be on the left. Oh, sorry. Oh, excuse me. What? No. Japanese Prime Minister was left, Trump's on the right.
Thank you very much. It's a great honor to be with the Prime Minister. We had a picture taken a little while ago, and it was so nice I thought I'd present it to you on stage.
Hopefully you guys can hear this okay.
I wish I was as handsome as him.
He's translating this from English to Japanese. And they took a picture. Looks cool. He's bossing out.
Remember that day. Thank you very much, everybody.
What I'm going to do, guys, I'm going to pause at certain important times. I don't know why this is so, incredibly
First time, Prime Minister, it's an honor to have you
low.
with us. A great honor. Japan is a great country. Very much. Japan is strong and proud. It's a nation that is home to one of the great civilizations in the history of the world. For nearly 80 years, the American-Japanese people have enjoyed a friendship like few others. Great friendship across the vast ocean. We found ourselves united by bonds of history, commerce, culture, mutual admiration, and great respect. After our meeting today, I'm confident that the cherished alliance between our two countries and others also will continue to flourish along and into the future. The military cooperation between the United States and Japan is one of our closest security partnerships. And it's one of the closest we have anywhere in the world. Our service members work together every day to defend our common interests. Japan is committed to double its defense spending by 2027 compared to my first term.
Did you catch that, guys? Japan has pledged to double their defense spending by 2027. Now remember, it's 2025 now. And remember and think of what's happening now in the current events with China and other issues, North Korea, China. And you're going to see there's a shift from purely a peace over to being more, I mean, they had a self-defense force, but it was limited. What they call SDF, that was their self-defense force. Now they're going to get larger. Continue on.
Invested a lot of money because of my first term. I worked on that very hard with Shinzo. You know, great Shinzo Abe. And we look forward to seeing even more so. Shinzo and I worked very, very long and hard, and those numbers are very reflective after my first term. And now they're going up very substantially based on our conversations today. In addition to being vital for our shared security, Japan is one of the top purchasers of U.S. military exports and equipment. And I'm pleased to say that this week my administration approved nearly $1 billion in foreign military sales to Tokyo. The United States is totally committed to the security of Japan. We will extend the full strength of American deterrence capabilities in defense of our friend and ally, 100%. In the years to come, the Prime Minister and I will be working closely together to maintain peace and security, and I also say peace through strength, and all over the Indo-Pacific. To that end, we also remain committed to the effort I began in my first term to ensure safety and stability on the Korean Peninsula. Prime Minister Ishiba and I spoke long and hard about a vital economic relationship between our two countries and the continuance of that relationship. The United States and Japan trade over $300 billion in goods and services each year. Japan has invested nearly $800 billion.
You hear that, guys? $300 billion. All the money. All the money.
And that's going to go up very, very substantially in the coming months, more than any other country. And they're going to have some competition. We have a lot of people coming in and investing in the United States. I think the feeling throughout the world has never been stronger about this country. As a result of our victory in 2024, the presidential election, the Japanese investment and technology giant SoftBank announced plans to invest between $100 and $200 billion. And we have many other companies investing that number, higher than that number, some a little bit less, but we have trillions of dollars of investment pouring into our country now that you didn't have just a short while ago.
Hear that, guys? Trillions of dollars of investment.
Today our teams discussed how our two nations can do even more to stay on the cutting edge of artificial intelligence, along with the quantum computing, semiconductors, and other critical technologies. And they're coming out. The problem with technology, that kind, it's obsolete in about 2 days, so we have to start all over again. Doesn't last long. We agreed to cooperate even more closely to combat the Chinese economic aggression, which is quite aggressive. I'm also pleased to announce that Japan will soon begin importing historic new shipments of clean American liquefied natural gas in record numbers. With our Secretary of the Interior, we were talking, I think Doug is here. Hello, Doug. Please stand up, Doug. Doug Burgum, everybody.
There we go.
We're talking about the pipeline in Alaska, which is the closest point of major oil and gas to Japan by far.
Hear that? If you remember, Biden's administration, they shut off that pipeline, if I have that right. And specifically LNG, liquefied natural gas. They shut it off. And you see what the gas prices went up. And there's other considerations, like what happened with COVID. And then, of course, inflation has also affected that. But, you see, guess what happens? We're turning the pumps back on. We're going to export, because we got so much of it, export it to Japan. Well, let's see what happens.
Less than half the distance of any other location. We're talking about a joint venture of some type between Japan and us, having to do with Alaska oil and gas. And that's very exciting. They're very excited about it.
Hear that? Alaska oil and gas. Well, for any of you who doesn't know, Alaska is known for its gas, or technically crude oil, because gas is actually after it's refined. But what you do is you take the crude oil, right, and you refine it. There's a refining process. One of these days, I'm gonna have a special video on what's the process for refining crude oil into different things, such as gas for the cars. Then you have jet engine fuel, otherwise known as aviation fuel. Because we're going to talk about that at some point on a different video. But you see, big money. Big money. And big money for the U.S. They want to export it. Japan gets a steady supply of it, which is also good as well.
So as we deepen our economic relationship, I made clear that the United States will be conducting trade with all countries based on the principle of fairness and reciprocity. Chronic trade deficits not only undermine our...
Okay, I had to pause that for a second. This is a very big thing in the sentiment that's been happening over the past few years. Is fairness and reciprocity. Fairness, level playing field. Reciprocity is whatever you do for us, we'll do for you, positively or negatively. I am wholeheartedly agree with that statement, because this is the only way you can get respect from countries in general. Okay, keep that in mind. Gotta have reciprocity. Negatively or positively, you have to have reciprocity. If a country does whatever tariffs, you do whatever tariffs. If they do good things to you, you do good things to them. Right? Have to maintain respect for the country, because you have to put yourself in the position where you're in a good bargaining position.
Economy, they really do. And we're going to get rid of the trade. We have a trade deficit with Japan of over $100 billion, but we're going to work that out, and I think very quickly, frankly. We can do it just on oil and gas. We can work it out, so we intend to do it very quickly. We both understand that. And as America welcomes new foreign investment, we also want to ensure that companies build their products and factories here in America, not simply buy the assets that we have. And Japan is going to be opening up auto plants. New auto plants are being built currently as we speak. They've just been started. Toyota's one. Nissan's going to be doing something very exciting about the U.S. Steel. They'll be looking at an investment rather than a purchase. Like the U.S. Steel is a very important company too.
Now this is questionable. I don't like this idea of foreign companies buying U.S. companies. This is very questionable. This is where unless I'm missing something, I don't agree with that. American companies should be owning American companies. Americans should be owning American companies, not foreign countries owning, or foreign companies owning American companies. Yeah, I don't like that idea, especially with something like steel, which is such a staple. Yeah, I don't agree with that.
It was the greatest company in the world for 15 years, many years ago, 80 years ago, and we didn't want to see that leave. It wouldn't actually leave, but the concept, psychologically not good. So they've agreed to invest heavily in U.S. Steel as opposed to own it. And that sounds very...
Oh wait, maybe I stand corrected. He said as opposed to own it. You're going to invest in it and as opposed to own it. That's a different story. But the thing is, you don't want them to be the majority stockholder. Okay? We can get a little semantical with this, because you say, well, they're not the owner, but they're not the 100% owner, but the majority owner. It still means that they are the owner. You got to be very careful with your wording.
Meet with Nissan next week. The head of Nissan, very great company, and they'll work out the details. I'll help. I'll be there to mediate and arbitrate. And I had the privilege of working closely with the great Prime Minister, as you know, and you know him very well, Shinzo Abe, the longest-serving Prime Minister in Japan's history. Likewise, I expect that this Prime Minister is going to be a great one. I really believe.
Yeah, that still hasn't been, that mystery hasn't been solved as far as I know. He was actually doing a speech and he was shot dead at some speech. I think it was after he left office, but he was shot dead. And in Japan, it's illegal to have a gun unless you're police or something. So regular citizen is not allowed to have a gun. Very fact that the person went in broad daylight, not at night, during the day, and shot Shinzo Abe and killed him is very suspicious. I've not heard of any explanation on who it was or why or anything, but facts remain facts.
Maybe that is going to be a great one. I've gotten to know him for not long, but I can see what they have. He's got the qualities of greatness. He's going to do a fantastic job for Japan and for the Japanese people. And I'd like now to invite the Prime Minister to say a few words, and then we'll take some questions.
Okay, so we're going to translate this from Japanese to English.
Mr. President Trump, I would like to sincerely thank you for inviting me to the White House today, immediately following you. I also thank you for your very warm hospitality. I have come to Washington, D.C. with the hope of having a face-to-face meeting and deepening our mutual understanding. Early days, President Trump, who is now leading the United States, the most important country for Japan's diplomacy and security, and aligning our perspectives and visions that Japan and the United States should pursue. What should we do to advance the national interests of both of our countries in synergy and to realize peace and prosperity in the Indo-Pacific? I am convinced that the answer lies in further strengthening the strong and unwavering Japan-US alliance to achieve a free and open Indo-Pacific. President and I concur to strengthen the deterrence and response capabilities of the alliance and to work closely in addressing strategic challenges that both countries are facing in this region. I conveyed to the President that Japan, as an ally of the United States, is ready to share responsibilities and to play its own role. I also reiterated Japan's unwavering commitment.
Let's pause that for a second. He says, claim its own role. Well, what role is it claiming? Well, let's listen.
Fundamentally reinforcing its defense capabilities, and we confirm the unwavering commitment by the United States to defend Japan. We reaffirm that Article 5 of the Japan-US Treaty of Mutual Cooperation and Security applies to Senkaku Islands, with half of the world's population and approximately 60% of the world's GDP. The Indo-Pacific serves as the engine of growth and vitality for Japan, the United States, and the world. President and I also concurred that the United States and Japan will make further efforts in a wide range of areas, working hand in hand together to realize a free and open Indo-Pacific. In this context, we also concurred to further advance cooperation of the multi-layered networks of the like-minded countries, including the Quad and trilateral cooperation with the Republic of Korea and the Philippines. We also discussed Japan, United States cooperation.
Let's pause that for a second. Trilateral cooperation with the Philippines? What does Japan have to do with the Philippines?
Prosperity, economic cooperation, including on economic security, is important from the perspective of strengthening alliance cooperation. Japan is the closest economic partner of the United States and has been the world's largest investor in the United States consecutive years. Also, with the inauguration of President Trump, the momentum for Japanese companies to invest in the United States is growing even stronger. Today, I conveyed my willingness to cooperate together to elevate Japan's investment in the United States to an unprecedented amount of $1 trillion. President Trump and myself also concurred to elevate the Japan-US partnership to an even higher level through improving business environment and increasing bilateral investment and employment, strengthening each other's industries, leading the world in developing advanced technologies such as AI and leading-edge semiconductors, and strongly promoting efforts to harness the energy of the growing market in the Indo-Pacific region. We also confirm that we will cooperate to strengthen energy security between the two countries, including increasing exports of the United States liquefied natural gas to Japan in a mutually beneficial manner. Regarding foreign exchange, as in the first Trump administration, close discussions will continue between Japanese and the U.S. finance ministers who are experts in this field. We also held candid discussions on challenges the Indo-Pacific region is facing. We confirmed that we are resolved not to allow unilateral attempts to change the status quo by force or coercion, and to oppose such attempts in the East and South China Sea, because we defend a free and open Indo-Pacific. We also reiterated the importance of peace and stability across the Taiwan Strait. Regarding North Korea, we affirmed that each addressed its nuclear and missile program, which poses a serious threat to Japan, the U.S., and beyond, and that Japan and the U.S. will work together toward the complete denuclearization of North Korea. As the uncertainties and developments continue to age, I conveyed my strong sense of urgency and determination to represent President Trump and gain his renewed strong support for the leadership position on the international issue. While this was my first face-to-face meeting with President Trump, we were able to openly and frankly exchange views, and the meeting turned out to be very productive and meaningful. As a result of today's meeting, which marked a new departure for the Japan-U.S. relations, we are issuing a Japan-U.S. Joint Leaders Statement. This document will serve as a compass for further cooperation between our two countries. On the basis of these deliverables, I look forward to working together with President Trump, who I respect immensely, to usher in a new golden age of Japan-U.S. relations. I look forward to welcoming you to Japan. I'm very excited about that prospect. Thank you, Mr. President.
That was very polite. I like that.
Any questions, please? Peter?
Ah, you see the vice president. He's in the front.
I think she'll be okay with
I don't know how well you guys can hear this. See if I can crank this up. I'm not sure. Okay, I turned that way up. I'm not sure what the deal with that is.
Well, it doesn't, but they get it very easily. I mean, we don't have very good security in our country. They get it very easily. And what we're doing, if you look at what has just taken place with respect to some of the investments that have been made on another agency that people have been talking about for years, but nobody did anything about it, it's absolutely obscene. dangerous, bad,
Input.
very costly. I mean, virtually every investment made is a con job. There's nothing of value to anybody unless there's a kickback scheme going on, which is possible.
See?
And we're going to be doing more and more.
See
of
how
that.
corrupt they were?
Department of Education. We're going to be looking
How
at.
come nobody talked about that when Biden was in
We're looking at
office?
Tremendous amounts of money, Peter, being spent on things.
But
that
they're very quick to
bear no
criticize
relationship
Trump,
to anything that have no
in my
value.
opinion.
We're talking about trillions of dollars. It will be, in the end, trillions of dollars being absolutely wasted, and perhaps illegally. I would say certainly in many cases illegally, but perhaps illegally overall.
Yep.
And I'm very proud of the job that this group of young people, generally young people, but very smart people, they're doing. They're
Yep.
doing at my insistence. It would be a lot easier not to do it, but we have to take some of these things apart to find the corruption. We found tremendous corruption.
Hear that, guys?
Oh, I see the same ones. I see Maxine Waters, a lowlife. I see, all these people. They don't love our country. They don't love our country. We want great education.
Trump's brutal. He's very brutal. I like his style. He's not your typical politician, but at least he goes from A to B in a very direct manner.
So they rank 40 countries in education. We're ranked dead last. Dead last. But the good news is we're number one in one category. You know what that is? Cost per pupil. We spend more per pupil than any other country in the world. You look at Norway, Denmark, Sweden, various countries all up and down, Finland, China does very well in education. And then you look at us. We spend much more money than they do per pupil or any other way.
Hear that? We spend so much money per pupil, and then what do we get out of it? They've known this since the 90s, guys. That just throwing money at something doesn't solve the problem. It's the methodology behind it that solves problems, not how much money you throw at it. Because if that's the case, we should have so much better than we have, but we don't. So it's either mismanaged, or the way their methodology is stinks. So probably that.
But we spend much more money than they do, and yet we're ranked this year. Biden's last year. Congratulations, Joe. We're ranked dead last. So what I want to see is education. Number one, I like choice. We all like choice. But beyond choice, long beyond choice, I want to see it go back to the states where great states that do so well have no debt. They're operated brilliantly. They'll be as good as Norway or Denmark or...
See, because when you have competition increases the quality of things. Quantity doesn't always equate to quality. Those are two different type of metrics. One is qualitative and one is quantitative. Quantitative is the quantity or how much of something. Quality is how good is something. So just because you have much more of it doesn't mean it's better. It just means you have more of it. So when you have competition, what competition does, it necessitates to compete necessitates the quality to improve, because otherwise you're just left behind in the competition. So what that will do is actually increase the quality of something. Okay. And also at the same time, it will leave the responsibility to the state to decide what they're going to do. That way they can never blame the federal government and say, oh, it's the federal government's fault. No, it'll be the state's decision what they're going to do with that. Also at the same time, we'll save the government money because they're not paying for that. And then of course they'll have autonomy to how they run their systems. Now, this behind the scenes, this may be just a way of cost cutting, but the thing is, if you can cost cut and be hands off, and at the same time give more autonomy to the states to do what they need to do as it comes to their educational standards, that seems to me like a win-win. I don't know what you guys think, but that's what I think.
Sweden or any of the other highly ranked countries, there'll be probably 35 to 38 states will be right at the top. And the rest will come along. They'll have to come along competitively. And by the way, we'll be spending a lot less money. and we'll have great education.
Hear that? Spending less money.
Cutting effort. One of the village engineers was fired for some inappropriate posts. The vice president says, bring him back. What do you say?
Well, I don't know about the particular thing, but if the vice president said that, did you say that? I'm with the vice president. Thank you, Kitty. Yeah, go ahead, please. Yes, red dress.
You want Japan's military to be? And do you specifically hope that their increased military spending will deter China and North Korea? What did you talk about that today?
Well, I want our military to be the strongest. I also don't mind spending so much money on the military because we build it here.
Let me check to see if we're still streaming.
We have,
Okay.
I rebuilt our military during my first term. Did a great job. We left some of it behind in Afghanistan.
Can't make. I might have a part
It was
2.
still as much as it was. It was billions and billions of dollars, but it was a small part of it. But we're going to have the strongest military by far.
What will happen is if it doesn't do the whole thing, I'll give you guys a part 2
Having gone through the gauntlet
from that point on. Okay.
But he got through, and he's going to be a tremendous. I have no doubt he's going to be a tremendous leader. And other of the leaders sitting here, they're in their own fields. We're going to do something very, very, very great, and we expect great things. But I expect the strongest military by far in the world, far stronger than China, far stronger than anybody, and that's the way it is. Thank you very much. Would you like to?
Here's the thing: if you're going to be the number 1 in the world, you need to be the number 1 in the world. You can't say I'm number 1, but not actually be number 1. You're going to set the bar to be number 1, then it needs to be commensurate with the quality and the actions. So we'll see.
To ask a question, please. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you.
This is Hilamoto from Nippon Television. My question let me ask 2 quick questions. First, this is the first meeting between Mr. President and Prime Minister Ishida. So what kind of impression do you have of him? And number 2, do you have an idea or do you have a plan to impose tariff against Japan so far?
I think that he is going to be a great prime minister. I think he's a very strong man, very, very strong. I have great respect for him. I've known him for a long time through a reputation. Shinzo Abe thought the world of him, and I think he's going to do a fantastic job as prime minister. Very strong person. I wish he wasn't so strong. I wish he was a little bit weaker than that. But that's what I got. I have to get strong guys all the time. He's going to be a great prime minister. I also.
I mean, yes, because you know why? Game recognizes game. Strong versus strong. Water seeks its own level. So guess what? If you're a strong leader, you want to be around strong leaders. Weak leaders are not around strong leaders. Weak leaders are around weak leaders. That's why they're weak. And strong leaders are around strong leaders. That's why they're strong. You become the type of person that you are around.
In terms of tariffs, I mean, we're going to have tariffs, mostly reciprocal tariffs, where we go with, and I'm going to be probably meeting on that Monday or Tuesday, have an announcement, probably a news conference, but probably reciprocal tariffs where the country pays so much or charges us so much, and we do the same. So very reciprocal, because I think that's the only fair way to do it. That way, nobody's hurt. They charge us, we charge them. It's the same thing, and I seem to be going in that line as opposed to a flat fee tariff.
See, that's fair. If you, whatever they charge you, you charge them. People have been saying this for years, but the government under Biden, in my opinion, didn't have the backbone to do it because they were more concerned about things that didn't matter because they were more interested in doing things that appealed to people because actually his base was eroding. Once people realized what he was doing wasn't working, he had actual people, and there's many videos, if you look online, many videos of people actually leaving the Democratic Party of various races, white, black, Hispanic, and I think also Asian too. I'm not sure about Native American, but Yeah, they're literally leaving the Democratic Party. So they have to have a base of people who's going to be able to get them elected. So, yes, okay, this is what happens.
Yes, go. Please. Please, go ahead. Why don't you go ahead?
This is Kotan from Yomiuri Shimbun newspaper. I have a question for Prime Minister Ishida. So this is your very first summit meeting. What was your impression of President Trump? Were you able to build a good relationship of trust and confidence? In Northeast Asia, there are many challenges. China and so forth. And with President Trump, what did you appeal to him? And what kind of understanding were you able to obtain on the economic field? There is the acquisition of your steel, the bionickel steel, and there are expansion of import of LNG. What were the communication discussions that you had with President Trump? For the $1 trillion of investment from Japan investment, what was his reaction? What about your communication on tariff front? This is the first time that I met with President Trump in person.
If you guys can't hear this very well, I'm gonna look at this video, listen to this, review this video later. If it didn't come out well, I'm gonna try to redo it. And now we're working with a minimal budget as it relates to this. But yeah.
On television, he is frightening, and he has a very strong personality. But when I met with him, actually, he was very sincere and very powerful, and with strong will for the United States as for the whole world. I was able to feel that. This is not the sort of pushing or trying to suck up to him. For the world peace and for the regional stability that both of our countries need to play our role and make our endeavors and responsibility. As for the increase of our defense expenditures, it is not that we are told by the United States to do so. Japan, on our own decision, on our own responsibility, we need to increase our defense expenditures. But of course, we need to communicate and consult with the United States. But the responsibility is with Japan, and the decision is with Japan. Now, on the tariffs, that...
See, here's the thing. My philosophy has always been, you should only trade with your allies. You should never build up your enemy. Whoever considers you your enemy is become your enemy. Whether you think, no matter how you feel, if the person you're dealing with thinks you're their enemy, you're their enemy. Why? Because that's how they're going to treat you. So my theory is you don't trade with people who are not your allies. Okay? Because you only want to build up your allies to make them better. And it should be a privilege, not a right to think, oh, I'm going to trade with... No, that's not how it works. You build up your allies and only trade with allies.
If it is mutually beneficial, tariffs need to...
Exactly. Oh, yes. Mutually beneficial is right. And my philosophy with allies, there should be no tariffs with allies. If there is somehow a way that's tenable to trade with people who are not considered an ally, you're going to tariff them. Because you need to get out of them. Because otherwise, what is the relationship? Relationship is only them benefiting. Okay? And of course, with tariffs, you have to pass on the cost of the consumer. And also have to consider the supply chain of where they're getting the goods or services from.
be set as for Japan, as Mr. President has introduced An unprecedented investment will be made from Japan to the United States, and so many jobs will be created. So $1 trillion is the target. And this will be to the benefit of the United States, but also to the benefit of Japan as well. Investment is mutually beneficial. So be it with US Steel, as Mr. President says, it is not acquisition, it is investment. So the Japanese technology will be provided, and better quality products will be manufactured in the United States, and the US Steel will make products which will contribute not only to the United States and Japan, but also to the whole world. It is not one-sided. It will be reciprocal. It will be mutually beneficial. And I believe we were able to share on this. And that is the biggest result that I have seen today.
Thank you very much. Go ahead, please. Yeah.
I like the fact that they use the terms mutually beneficial and not a one-sided affair. See, that's the difference between Japan and China. China thinks only what's going to benefit them. They don't care about anything that's mutually beneficial. They may say so, but that's not in their verbiage. Their verbiage is, well, this will be beneficial. They don't say mutually beneficial. They just say, well, this will be a benefit. To who? See? But then, what do they say? Mutually beneficial. Big difference between how Japan phrases it and how China phrases it. And also the way US phrases it is, this is what we want to get, but this is how we're going to work with the other people to add value to them as well. Which is another way of basically saying you're both going to benefit. But of course, how are you going to benefit how are you going to add value to someone else if your value is not added to you? That has to be already clear in the beginning that both are going to benefit. Then once you've established both are going to benefit, then you can say it's mutually beneficial, but not before.
Is this a restructuring of the deal that's happening? They're doing it as an investment, no longer purchase. I didn't want it purchased, but investment I love. And they're going to do a big investment, subject to getting the deal done, and they'll be doing it for it. I'm okay with that.
Your argument to the president related to U.S. Steel and one you said on tariffs that
well, we didn't discuss tariffs so much. We really discussed.
See, this may be the golden age for them. That these 4 years may be the time. Well, there's already investment coming into the country because it was leaving China. So it's very interesting in Asia, okay? Whenever China's up, Japan's down. Whenever Japan is up, China's down. Very interesting.
Many of the things, including the pipeline in Alaska, which I think is going to be maybe the most exciting thing we've done. For instance, pipeline, it seemed to be of great interest to them. It's potentially more oil and gas than in Saudi Arabia. Just don't have most of any country in the world is big asset in the United States, but we haven't used it.
See here, did you hear that? We've had all the liquefied natural gas, but we haven't used it. See, not only would it make the companies, we could make the country more prosperous, but they're going to collect more tax from that. So it also benefit the government. Also, we won't have to buy from Saudi Arabia, so which puts us in a leveraged position where they have to add some other value to us. They have to do something. Now, I understand, that is in my understanding, what's happening actually in reality is Saudi Arabia is transitioning away from selling gas, if you want to call it that. Crude oil, technically. But, yeah. They're actually transitioning away from that because they see that that's going to have that's not going to go on forever. And of course, here's the thing is, in the early to mid 2000s, guess what happened? They already found a whole bunch of crude oil, in the mountains of North Dakota. Okay, so at least supposedly. So yes, they have so much of it. It just gets overshadowed by the organizations like OPEC and also what Saudi Arabia has. So let's continue.
More than anybody, it's an amazing phenomenon that took place over the past 4 years. Nobody understands it, and people that were charging, they have no clue what they're doing. So it was a big phenomenon. They were surprised actually, John. They were saying, why didn't they wouldn't sell LNG. They wouldn't sell it. Japan wanted to buy LNG, and Biden wouldn't sell it.
See, that's what I'm saying by win, otherwise known as a win-win. And it doesn't mean one person wins twice. It means both people win. See, Japan needs their own steady supply of that for energy purposes. But also, U.S. wants to sell that.
Maybe it was the environment. You might answer that question. She's curious about that herself. Thank you very much. If you want to answer that, you know about LNG, that the United States wouldn't sell you LNG.
我々として非常に残念なことではありましたが、政権においてこの許可というのはなされなかったということで、トランプ大統領が就任当日だったと思いますが、このことについての明快な解決策を示していただいたということは日本国と非常にありがたいと思います。まだ日本国といたしまして、LNG のみが立つバイオエタノールであり、あるいはアンモニアであり、そういうような資源というものを安定的にリーズナブルな価格で提供されるということに日本国ででもそしてアメリカの貿易赤字、日貿易赤字を減らすことにもつながるということで、私どもとして安定的にリーズナブルな価格で提供されている大きなことでございます。非常に感謝をし、そしてまたこれから先 LNG の採掘というものが成功裏に進んでいくことを期待しています。
I want to just say that on the ethanol, Iowa is going to be very happy. All of the Nebraska, all of our farm states are going to be very happy. They want ethanol, and we'll be able to provide it. So our farmers, who I like and they like me, I think they're going to be very, very happy. We've opened the sale of LNG immediately. Actually, we did it a few days ago. And China, and right now, not only China, everybody wants to buy it. We have more than anybody, and they're all buying it. But Japan, in particular, we're very happy that they're going to.
See, I'm all for selling to country, but in terms of buying from someone, you always have to have the leverage position where we're in a better position than the people who are not our allies. Always have to be in a better position, because those people are thinking the same thing. They're seeing us. It's like a game that they're seeing us as their opponent, and we're seeing them as their opponent. So it's a game. Business is a game, and unfortunately, what's happening is, fine, we'll sell it to them, but there's priorities. Okay, and of course there's options. The U.S. is not the only option. However, I do believe in supplying our allies first, then them. Of course, this is actually business to business type stuff that is actually involved, but in terms of actual policy, what's allowed to be exported is another story.
Start immediately, and we can supply it to the world, but we're supplying it to Japan, and they can always be right up in front of the line. Yeah, go ahead, please.
Mr. Prime Minister, I have a question for you as well, but Mr. President, I'll start with you. Well, quickly to follow up on what Peter was asking, have you directed Elon Musk to review Pentagon spending, given it's the biggest discretionary spending in the federal budget?
Just about everything. Just so bad. We just went through this horrible situation situation we just went through. Because 97% of the people have been dismissed. It's very, very unfortunate. You're not going to find anything like that, but you're going to find a lot. And I've instructed him to go check out education, to check out...
By the way, I just forgot to mention that. You see how strategic that was when you mentioned the farmers? Yeah, that's a big demographic. Often in the past, that was something that was tied to the Democratic Party. There's a long story why, especially going back to Roosevelt. But the fact that he can get that support from farmers is a big thing. Also, the business of farming has changed because now it's become big business. Why? Because it depends on the product you're selling. Especially if it's energy. That's big business.
The Pentagon, which is the military, and sadly you'll find some things that are pretty bad, but I don't think proportionally you're going to see anything like we just saw.
The FBI has turned over a list to the Justice Department of the FBI agents who worked on the January 6 rioters cases. Are you planning to fire the FBI agents who worked on those investigations?
No, but I'll fire some of them because some of them were corrupt. I have no doubt about that.
That's fair, right? Why do you want corrupt people working in the FBI? Yeah, guess what? You want a high position like that, you have to be someone with integrity. Because it is a risk to technically it's a risk to national security to have somebody who's corrupt. Technically. But yeah, it reflects badly on leadership when you have corrupt people that are operating.
I got to know a lot about that business, that world. I got to know a lot about that world, and we have some corrupt agents, and those people are gone, or they will be gone, and it'll be done quickly and very surgically. Did you have a question for the Prime Minister?
You know what I think it is? I think it's a matter of seeing if he follows up on his words, because he makes promises, he says he's going to do things. I think they're trying to test him to see if he's actually going to follow through on what he says he's going to do.
I don't know. We're going to bring back the reputation of the FBI. Cash Patel's going to do a great job. We're going to bring back the reputation of the FBI, which has been hurt very badly. It's been devastated over the last 4 years.
By the way, there's a lot of people who want to join the FBI. It's very difficult to be an agent because it's basically like getting, from what I understand, it's basically like getting into an Ivy League school. There's lots of applicants, but only a few of them actually are able to get in. But there's a lot of clever people. Just you don't know of it, because of course, why would you make that publicly available that you're working for the FBI? But there's lots of qualified people. Not everybody is chosen, of course. In fact, a minority of people are chosen. But yeah, there are competent people that can easily replace them, and a lot of eager people that can replace them. So yeah, if you want a little bit more insight on that, there is a channel. I'm going to link it. Myron Gaines X on X. Sorry, Fed Reacts on YouTube. I'll put his. I think I'll put his channels. If I can find his channel, I should be able to find his channel. He goes into more detail about that, but suffice to say, there's lots of people who want that job. So yeah, it's not as difficult as you think to find the people. The only question is, are they the type of people that they want to hire?
You addressed that in the first time with President Trump. The last administration previously did not have hardly any federal contact with North Korea. President Trump certainly did the last time he was in office. Would you like to see him resume that contact and also that in-person meeting that he had with the North Korean leader Kim Jong-un?
それは合衆国大統領が
That is something that the United States needs to determine on its own, and it's not something that we should request. Having said that, but
ベトナムにおいて、あるいはシンガ
For
ポールに
example,
おいて、
in Vietnam
中
or
国大
Singapore,
統領がトランプ
the
大統
President
領
of the
が
United
金
States,
正恩委員長と会談をされたということで、
President Trump was able to meet with Kim Jong-un. I think that's
その
a
進
very
展はござい
positive
ませんけれど
development.
も、またトランプ大統領が就任されたことによ
Now
って、
that President
この
Trump is
北
in
朝
power
鮮の
again,
問題がさらに解決に向か
if we are
う
able
ために
to
は、
move towards
非核化と
resolving
いう
issues
ことが
with
大前提で、
the North Korea, I think it would be great. And of course, for us, that includes not only denuclearization, but also resolving the abductee
そ
issue.
してまた拉致問題、被害者もそうですが、ましてや家族はも
Not
っと
only
高
the
齢化しているの
victims
で、
of the abductees, but also their families too are aging, and so
中国
our
大
time
統
is
領、ト
limited.
ランプ大統領からのさらなるお力
If
と
the
いう
President
も
of the
の
United
を
States, if
Did you hear what he said? We, in Asian terms, they have a group culture. They would say, they wouldn't say the name of the country, they would use it in the third person. So not I, you, but we. Third person, we. And guess what? Sorry, excuse me. Yeah, I, you, and we. Yeah, third person. And that's how they look at it. They look at it because it's a group culture. They use words like we instead of our country or Americans. This is their mentality, how they communicate, is they think in terms of a group culture. Well, there's another problem. You see, when politicians speak about things, you really have to know the background behind what they're referring to. Otherwise, it doesn't really mean a whole lot to you. It's just kind of like saying it's raining outside. Okay, good for you, it's raining outside, but something has significance if there's a cross-reference. Okay, so the cross-reference is that the country has a problem with the population decline. And it's one of their national problems, and he's referring back to those problems. So there is kind of like this symbolic speech, and also cross-reference speech, as in what is he referring to when he says something.
President Trump is able to resolve this issue, we do understand that it's a Japan issue first and foremost. Having said that,
Did you hear that? That's a Japan issue, not a U.S. issue, not an international issue, but it's a Japan issue. See? So he's bringing that to light for whatever reason. I don't know what the reason why he'd bring it up, but he is. The important thing is when somebody talks about something, you want to know what they're referencing. Otherwise, it's just robotic talk.
we would love to continue to cooperate with them.
It's actually a good question, and we will have relations with North Korea and with Kim Jong-un. I got along with him very well, as you know. I think I stopped the war. I wouldn't have won that particular.
You know what he did? They were just about to bomb North Korea, and it got halted. But Kim Jong-un, if that's his correct name, he actually respected Trump, and he didn't want to do too much. He was threatening, and then suddenly Trump just made him stop what he was doing. And then after a while, it started back up under Biden. But you see, they respect Trump because Trump knows how to talk to people. Biden obviously in public gives people the impression he doesn't. Whether he really does and whether he really doesn't and just pretends he does and pretends like he doesn't, which actually I have this, in my opinion, I get that impression because how is it he can speak eloquently to European nations, but when he talks domestically, he talks like he's losing his mind, in my opinion. See, it's very inconsistent. And as a leader, you have to lead with consistency, not with inconsistency. But, point is, Kim Jong-un respected Trump. That's the point. And if you're going to be a leader of the country, you have to be strong, you have to have wisdom, and you have to be a man of action that backs up your words. And guess what? Another thing is very important, countries have to respect you. Not just the country, but the leader is the face of the country. And if they don't respect the face of the country, guess what? They're not going to respect the country. So, what he's saying is not hyperbole.
Election, you would have ended up in a very bad situation. But I did, and we had a good relationship, and I think it's a very big asset for everybody that I do get along with him. I get along with him, he gets along with me, and that's a good thing, not a bad thing. And I can tell you that likes the idea, because their relationship is not very good with him. And if I can have a relationship with not only him, but other people throughout the world where there seem to be difficulties, I think it's a tremendous asset for the world, not just the United States. Go ahead.
See, he puts it, even though he's not the typical politician per se, he's very good about his words. And that's somebody who's experienced dealing with people. So he's dealing with high-profile people. He knows how to put things. He knows how to phrase. He knows how to communicate things in a certain way. So when he says he has a good relationship, it means, of course, working relationship in terms of both of them getting what they want, so they're both happy, so nothing is going to hit the fan. If you know what I mean.
Prime Minister as well. Mr. President, I wonder what you think of the criticism after the cuts that Elon Musk and Doge are doing are an unlawful power grab. Is there anything you've told Elon Musk not touch?
For anybody who's not familiar with DOGE, Doge, not the crypto coin, which coincidentally stands for Department of Government Efficiency. So there's been a very large pushback by the Democrats because they didn't want their funding cut. Now, for some of the stuff they were talking about, specifically with the education department, some of the cutting of the funding in the education department, that's been blocked by a judge. However, the big pushback is they want their social programs funded. Well, here's the reality. You can't get everybody's programs funded. So you have to have a priority. And you have to have some sort of metrics to measure that. You cannot have everybody's program funded. It just doesn't work that way. So there's a big pushback against Elon. But the thing is, what I find quite interesting is I don't hear any reporter asking them, Trump or even whatever, someone from Doge, why are they cutting what they're cutting? See, there's no question of why. It's just, oh, he cut this, almost like a childish type of approach.
Very capable. They know what they're doing, and they'll ask questions, and they'll see immediately if somebody gets tongue-tied that they're either crooked or don't know what they're doing. We have very smart people going in, so...
See, that's the gray area where they try to pretend to be a certain way. Smoke and mirrors. You hear what he said? They're either crooked or they're incompetent. The way crooked people want to appear to be, they want to appear to be incompetent, because then nobody will blame them because they say, oh, he's just incompetent. Happened with Biden. Whether he is or not will be up to the public to decide, not for me to tell you. But apparently, if that is the approach of some of the, let's just say, very unethical / corrupt people, is they appear to be incompetent. Let's continue.
I'm instructing them going to education, going to military, going to other things as we go along. And they're finding massive amounts of fraud, abuse, waste, all of these things. So,
hear that? Fraud, abuse, waste. So they wonder, how come we don't have money for things? Waste. How come we don't have money for things? Abuse. Like they're doing things the wrong way in a severe way. Doing something in a severe way that's wrong. Okay? And then fraud, of course, it's not what the money's not spent according to what it was assigned to do. Of course, nothing to see here, but you know.
But I will take out a target and I say, go in. There could be areas that we won't, but I think everything's fertile. You know, we're a government. We have to be open. And
See,
an open government.
see, that's the difference between Asia and the West. Is the West generally is very transparent because that's the citizens demand that. Because if you don't have transparency, how are you going to know what's going on? In Asia, it's a matter of face. They don't want to show everything that's going on because that means a person will lose face. But the problem is, you cannot build trust unless you have transparency, and that's just the fact.
You should say maybe some high intelligence or something. And I'll do that myself if I have to. But generally speaking, I'll just say, but he will be looking at education pretty quickly, and he will be looking at military.
Federal spending is Social Security, Medicare, programs like that. Would you like to see him look at those programs as well?
Well, they don't really have to be looked at by him. They can be looked at by us. Social Security will not be touched. It will only be strengthened. We have illegal...
Another very smart strategical move. Social Security will not be touched, it will be strengthened. So you see, what he wants to do, if you guys are not familiar, he wants to eliminate the tax on Social Security, which I think is completely fair. Why are they taxing Social Security? Because it's a ridiculous thing. It's an obligatory amount of money that has to be put into that person has to contribute to, which I think is already wrong. And then not only do you have to give the money to the government as in this form of a tax, then they're going to tax you on the money that you already gave them? Makes no sense. No. And what, is it big money? I don't think so.
Immigrants on Social Security, and we're going to find out who they are and take them out.
Hear that? Immigrants on Social Security. Nice fraud. Who said that was allowed? They're not a citizen. They should have no business putting anything into Social Security if they are not a citizen. Why? You have to have a Social Security number. You see? But when he says immigrant, what he's really referring to is illegal immigrant. See, because the bone of contention is never the legal immigrant who's gone through here in the legal channels in the legal way. The issue the government has, and also the people who are in favor of what the government's proposing and suggesting, is that their bone of contention is with illegals. See, it's kind of a common sense thing. Why would an illegal why would there be money from going Social Security money going to an illegal? Makes no sense.
Illegal immigrants and other...
Bingo. You hear that? Context. Illegal immigrants. Now you know what he meant by immigrants.
Here we've had a lot of bad people, a lot of people that shouldn't be on, that were put on through...
There you go. A lot of people who shouldn't be on that are on. You see? You can tell it's people not supposed to be. Who's not supposed to be? Illegal immigrants.
California, a lot of them come out of California.
And where are they coming from? California. Where's the sanctuary cities? California. That's one of them.
We're not going to stand for that, so we're going to strengthen our Social Security, etc. We're not going to touch it other than to make it stronger. But we have people that shouldn't be on, and those people we have to weed out. Most of them, or many of them so far, have been illegal immigrants. They shouldn't even be in the country. Do you have a question for the Prime Minister?
See, it's very clear what he means by that. So there will be some people who will try to take him out of context. He said, well, it's migrants, it's whatever, it's immigrants. But the thing is, you have to hear all of the context. You didn't hear all the sentence. What people will do is take it out of context. You won't hear the full thing, and they think they're clever by saying and misquoting somebody. But the thing is, who's fooled? Only a fool is fooled, by definition. So that's intellectually dishonest when you don't take things in the context and then you're purposely trying to misquote somebody.
Mr. Prime Minister, the President's affinity for tariffs is well known. If the U.S. places tariffs on Japanese imports, would Japan retaliate?
関税をかけたらば日本は報復しますか？
家庭のご質問にはお答えをいたしからねますというのが日本の
Unable to respond to a theoretical question. That's the official answer that we have.
That's a very good answer. Very good answer. Wow. That's very good. He knows what he's doing. Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you.
Nice backhanded compliment. Touche. Alright guys, that will do it for... So, that will do it. What do you guys, I want to ask you guys, what do you think of this? Of Donald Trump hold press conference with the Prime Minister of Japan, Ishiba. What do you think? Do you think this was enough to give enough information about what the cooperation is? Do you think this is relevant to your life? And also, did you find this interesting or did you find it kind of a little boring? What did you think? You're welcome to give your opinion in the comments below. I do ask that you keep it relevant and you also keep it civil, as we're only trying to contribute something that is positive to the experience, as we're trying to add to the experience, make it better, and increase the viewer base. So I would like to take this time to thank all the people who watched this on Facebook Live first, and also watched the recorded version on Facebook. What I'd like to do for those people who watch this on Facebook, I'd like you to do is please click the thumbs up on the video. That way more people can see that they enjoyed the video, and also will be able to be informed about the news and benefit from it accordingly. For all the people watching the recorded version on YouTube, Rumble, Dailymotion, and also if I do upload this on Vimeo, they have a storage limit, unlike the other platforms. What I'd like you to do is please, of course, please click like on the video. That way it'll be pushed through the algorithm and more people will be able to view it and enjoy it. Excuse me. If you haven't already, excuse me guys, if you haven't already, please click the subscribe button. That way you'll have access to all the content on my channel, as I certainly do have a variety of content on my channel for you to view and enjoy. The content on my channel ranges from product to gaming review to also course review, and I'll also be doing more stuff with AI, showing how AI is progressing, some applications, and review of AI. So stay tuned for that as well. Also, what I'd like you to do is I'd like you to please click the bell button on the channel, so it doesn't matter whether it's YouTube, Rumble, Dailymotion, and if I do upload this on Vimeo, I'd like to also ask you to upload, excuse me, not upload, well, I'm going to upload. I'd like you to actually click the bell button on the uploaded video. So what I'm going to have uploaded here, and if you're looking at the recorded, of course, at the time it will be already, of course, already uploaded. I'd like you to actually please click please click the bell button. That way you'll be notified of all my future videos. That way when a new video comes out, you won't miss it because you'll be notified accordingly. So I'd like to wish you a great day to all of you here who watch this video. Take care, and I'll talk to you next time.